Our elections commissioner is here this morning, and I'd like Andrew Howell to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the August 7th, 2014 meeting of the Shawnee County Board of Commissioners. My name is Bob Archer. I currently serve as chair and represent District 3 alongside Commissioner Kevin Cook, who serves as vice chair and represents District 2, and Commissioner Shelley Bueller, who represents District 1. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
First item, please.
First item is item 3, consent agenda.
Questions or comments on the consent agenda?
I have none.
Me neither. Move approval.
Second.
Motion made to approve the consent agenda by Commissioner Bueller, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item 4, new business. A, County Clerk, number 1, consider all voucher payments.
Commissioners, this morning we have vouchers that total $816,112.74. The highlights out of those would be our contributions to capers, payments for jurors and grand jury, holding accounts with the state of Kansas, the health insurance contributions for our employees, payments for parks and recreation, and payments for public works. Those that I've highlighted contribute to $696,048.27. So almost all of the expenditures are on those areas, and I would move for their approval.
Second.
Motion made to approve the vouchers as presented by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item.
There are no correction orders today.
Thank you. Next item.
Item B, Public Works Solid Waste, number 1, consider approval of resolution number 2014-61, authorizing the placement of no parking signs along the east side of Northeast Croco Road between Northeast 39th Street, south 475 feet, to allow for the safe movement of Seaman school buses entering and exiting North Fairway Elementary School.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tom Block with Public Works and Solid Waste. This is a Public Works item. Last week we received, I received a call from Neil Shelley, who is the Transportation Supervisor for USD 345, the Seaman School District, and indicating that they have some construction work that's going on at the North Fairview School, and they're a little concerned with that construction that's going on, that they've been having some of, it's taking up some of their parking spaces that their parents typically have been using to drop off their kids, and so some of their parents have been dropping them off on the opposite side of the street. They are a little concerned regarding the safety, so he had called and was wanting to know if we'd be, if we could put something forth to the commission regarding the no parking signs. They're thinking about possibly it being temporary, but this resolution would be to make it permanent, and then they're going to evaluate it once the construction's done and everything's back in its normal routine. And if they feel that those are no longer needed, then I believe they would come back and ask us to have them removed. But anyway, we concur with their request, and so that is what the resolution then is before you, is to put the no parking signs up at that location, Northeast Croco Road, at Northeast 39th, and for a distance of 475 feet south, and on the east side of the road only. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Questions or comments for Tom? Then I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
I would second.
Motion made by Commissioner Archer and seconded by Commissioner Cook to approve the resolution. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item B2, consider approval of change order number 1, final, to contract C 14-2014 with Midwest Construction Company, Inc., decreasing the amount of the project by $658.95 for the Northwest 86th Street Bridge over Little Soldier Creek.
Commissioners, Tom Block again with Public Works. For the past few months, we've been replacing that bridge on Northwest 86th Street. The project is now complete. We've done a final calculation of quantities, and the resulting amount for the work that was done versus what was bid is a decrease in the amount of the contract of the construction contract of $658.95. Is our recommendation that this change order be approved. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Questions or comments?
I have none. Move approval.
I'll second, but I would note that this bridge is funded from the half-cent sales tax that is currently in place.
That is correct.
And so again, we can contribute improvements to Shawnee County from the existing half-cent sales tax, but I would second the motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Bueller to approve the change order, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, Tom. Next item, please.
Item C, Commission. Number 1, consider canceling the October 23rd and 27th Commission meetings and the November 10th Commission meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve.
A second.
Motion made by Commissioner Archer to approve, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item C2, 2015 budget.
Good morning. Betty Griner, Financial Administrator. And it's that time of year again. I have here a worksheet that I thought can be our kind of our working budget summary. I thought I would start out by going over this worksheet so that the three of you and all of the public understands how we're looking at this, the information that you've been given, and how you'll be making your line item adjustments. I'll start out here by the columns, and what I have here is a column here for the 2012 actual expenditures for each department, the 2013 actual expenditures, the 2014 budget that was approved. This column here is for the 2015 budget requests from each. This column here is a flat budget. It's the 2014 budget amount plus the amount required for the extra pay period. As we've commented before, since we pay biweekly every 11th year, the years fall such that we have a 27th pay period. So what I've done is I've taken the, if you look down here further on this one, I've taken the 2014 budget amount and then I've added the amount that's necessary for that extra pay period. So that would essentially keep them at the same level they're at now. Then this next column, it just says BCC adjustments. This will be the column where you're making adjustments to that, whether you add or subtract from that flat budget. This will be the adjusted budget amount, and then I've added a column here that just shows the percentage change from a flat budget. If we go over here for the different lines, I've started out with the allocations. These are amounts that the county pays to different social service organizations for different types of items. The next category here are the elected officials, excuse me, which includes the clerk, district attorney, register of deeds, sheriff, and treasurer. Then I've listed all the individual departments. I've listed general expenses here and the debt service, contingency, and capital outlay because those are county-wide. And then we get into each individual department here, and they have a line item. Some of the departments, like courts, are separated out into different divisions, like court administration, court services, clerk of the district court, that type of thing. Same with the jail. We have detention facility, then we have health services. We contract that out, and trustee program and food service, that is also contracted out. So we come down here to our, I've listed what we will need to levy for our special liability fund. We come down here to our total expenditures. You can tell with these columns that have the actual numbers, I show what the actual expenditures were and what was actually budgeted. Then I come down here to non-levy projected revenues. These are the revenues that we receive
from items other than these ad valorem taxes. That's from fees, charges, like Parks and Rec, sheriff detention facilities, any other miscellaneous. There are some other taxes that are not these ad valorem taxes. So that I subtract from the total expenditures. I add whatever we budget to increase our general fund balance. Last year we budgeted $3 million to increase the general fund balance. Then we have our neighborhood revitalization rebate. That has to be added in as an expense, basically. And then we have to add in our expected delinquencies. That for this year's number, I'm using 2.6%. That is based on our prior year delinquents. That number has gone down from last year. So I believe last year it was 3.25%. So it's based on the prior year, and as we've seen those delinquencies go down, we've been able to decrease that number. So then we come down to the amount that will need to be levied. Then we have our assessed value. That's what the levies are based on. So then we come down in our mill levy amount. This is our mill levy that you had voted last year, and just this is just technically this is an estimated mill levy. The county clerk's office actually establishes the mill levy. This is our estimate of what that will be, and so there could be a small difference in that when she actually calculates it based on the final assessed values. And then this is just the increase or decrease in the mill levy from the prior year. So that's our worksheet. That's how we will track the changes that you make as we go along. Any questions on that?
I don't have any right now. But I would point out that if we had a flat budget, even with the additional pay period, the mill levy would actually go down by 0.462. I remember the
Yes,
number.
that's
as being.
correct.
So I think that's an interesting thing. And I've talked to Betty past couple of weeks to think about how to approach the budget for this year. And I would propose a few things, Commissioners. First of all, with all due respect to the editorial board of the Capitol Journal, I don't think we ought to start with what people ask for and then whittle that down. I think we should start with flat budgets and then increase or decrease based on evidence that we receive from the departments. So that would be my first proposal. We start with the flat, and then we make evidence-based decisions whether we increase or decrease particular line items. Also, I'd like to have a consensus that we have a ceiling for the mill levy. And I've done a number of what-if scenarios, and some of those increase the mill levy by 0.4, 0.5 mills. But I would like for us to agree to set the ceiling on the mill levy at 49.17. And that would essentially give us a little wiggle room if we need it, and that would be less than 1 mil increase. As far as how we approach the budget, I would like to see us in the iteration of talking about departments first, then elected officials, and then the allocations to the groups in the first category. Also, I would propose that we schedule 2 meetings to discuss the budget. The first would be on Monday, August the 18th, and then we would finalize the budget on August the 21st. Betty wants to get it done by the 21st, And although I think it's statutory, we don't have to do it until August the 25th.
That's correct.
Our finance director wants to do it by the Thursday, the August 21st, and I think we should accommodate her. So those are my thoughts. One thing I think we need to, that we can do now, is address some mandatory issues and fill in the blanks on those. And I think you know what I'm talking about, Betty. That would be.
Yes. There are several items that we, are really, a lot of it is out of our control. As I mentioned briefly at the jail, these health services, we contract that out. And so even though we negotiate those contracts and try to get the best deal we can, we still are obligated to provide that service. And especially as we heard in the budget hearings with the mental health piece of that, that is going to increase significantly, or I guess it's so. I believe that that is one of the items that we really are obligated to the budget request amount on that. To let you know how much addition that is, that's an additional $352,000. And because we don't have, that's not within our own department, that is contracted out. That's one item that I believe that we really have to increase that budget to the budget request amount. Same with the food service for the jail. We contract that out too. And although there again, we do negotiate that contract as to as low an amount as possible, that is something that we have to provide. So, and that one is an increase of 23,000. And you can see here that that increase is going to be a 13.41% on the health service part.
Wow.
And like I say, a big piece of that is because of the mental health issues that we have now at all jails, ours including. And we heard about that, quite a bit about discussion about that at the budget hearing from them. This other one, the food service, they're estimating a 2.5% increase on that contract, so that's where that number comes from. The other item that I believe we need to look at, that we will need to make an adjustment to the requested amount, is in the coroner's office or the medical examiner's office. Due to a contract that we have with the new coroner, we agreed to some changes on that. So that's another item that we have committed to, that I believe that one is one more that we need to make. And that will be $34,561. So.
I think those were the items. Are there questions? Commissioner Cook or Commissioner Bueller on those?
On those, I might have, Brian, if you could address the health, that budget for the detention facility.
Sure.
And does that cover increased costs for health and mental, or is this a new program? I just want to make sure.
This would be an additional for us to establish the programs needed to address the challenges we're having. First, Brian Cole, Department of Corrections, we're having with mental health issues. The increased mandates that the courts are giving us, that we're seeing, and we work very well with Rich Eckert and his office regarding that. The courts are making it very clear that the jails are no longer going to be required to act like a jail. You're going to be required to act like a mental health institution. And for us to meet those challenges, to reduce risk and liabilities, we have to do our part. And so this is an additional request that we've asked for, to be able to meet those. Not only are there going to be court requirements, but just for the safe and humane incarceration of those who suffer with mental illness.
Thanks for that explanation.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, Commissioner. What does our bottom line look after those?
That still leaves us slightly under last year's mill.
Okay. Really, that's all I had. I know this is a very preliminary meeting. Again, I if we have 2 meetings on the budget, I think that's plenty. To summarize, I want to start with a flat budget. I want us to have an agreement as far as a ceiling on the mill levy that we agree to. And then increases or decreases will be based on evidence. And the iteration, again, my preference would be to talk about departments first, elected officials second, and then the allocations third. So those are my thoughts on the process this year. What, Commissioner Cook, do you have thoughts?
As far as the order, I'm good with that. I think that's good.
Okay.
Setting an order of discussion, that gives us an order of priorities of what we're addressing, so that we're not just jumping hither and yon. So as far as that, I have no problem with that. The 18th and the 21st, I think those are good, so the public has ideas of what we're going to discuss on those days. As filling in the mandatories with the Department of Corrections for the health, for the food, and for the coroner. If you're looking for a motion today, I'd be ready to move forward today on those.
Okay.
I think those are expenses that are outside of our control, much in the same way. There are some other mandatories, such as general expense, cost of our COPs, and debt service. Those are 3 that are outside of the control of the commission that are already set.
Exactly.
Correct.
And so there are a couple, so that identifies at least 6 that are already resolved, so to speak. As far as the mill levy ceiling, I think that it's good to have a goal of not going over a ceiling so that we have a projection between the 3 of us as to what we're looking for. I think that we should strive to have a ceiling of a flat, not having a mill levy increase.
I agree.
But that being said, while we are ongoing in discussions, not having anything that goes over 1 mil, I think that as we give and take during this process, looking at not going over 1 mil and talking with Betty, 1 mil for a $100,000 house would be $11, less than $1 a month. And so looking at what is the burden to the taxpayer?
Mhm.
Every dollar is a burden to a taxpayer. But again, I know that you suggested 0.49, 0.49?
0.99.
0.99. Well, I'm good with 0.99.
Okay.
I think I can give a 0.01. See, compromise already.
I like that spirit, Commissioner. Thank you. Did you have any additional
Nope,
thoughts?
that's it.
Okay. Commissioner Bueller.
Well, I'll address your,
Okay.
but yes, flat, I agree to start with that, and I would prefer a no mill increase as well. I think there is some flexibility in this budget where we can achieve that. And I agree on the sequence of dealing with things. I guess I would also just like to make a couple comments, because when our department directors came to us, they had to kind of go through their mission and their vision and their, everything. And I've been at this for a while, and it's not always the most fun time of year, but it's a time when we really get to focus on our priorities as a county. And over the last 3.5 years, I think we've been more strategic in our planning for our budget. We've asked the department directors to have strategic plans, 3 to 5 year strategic plans, and we've increased our focus on communication and opening up to the public with our live streaming and all those sorts of things. So as I was looking at our mission as a commission is to deliver quality services at a reasonable cost. I don't know if you agree with that, but I'm just kind of going with what they had to do. And vision is really to continue to build and develop public safety, invest in park and recreation master plan, and long-range planning, asset planning, and space planning. I think we need to make sure we address that. Our challenges now and in the future, budget. And how do we balance and serve the taxpayers and make sure we take care of our employees and businesses? Our successes, I think that we have lowered our expenditures, we've increased our reserves, we've lowered our debt. From the beginning of this budget process, I have said that I would prefer no tax increase, a modest raise, and some adjustments, and what the benefits are, like you said, evidence-based to those increases. I think space and long-term planning on facilities is a priority, and I'm not sure how we want to work on that. But first and foremost, I think we had some, if you could go up to the very top, Betty. We had, there were a couple questions actually I had. Appraiser, I want to make sure that that number is correct, because I'm questioning that as I looked back at the 2015 budget request.
That was an amended amount after his budget hearing,
Okay,
that he came back with some additional
okay,
items. I'll make sure you have all that information.
okay. And then the other one was, because I just want to make sure we start with the same numbers.
Yes.
With IT, and that includes telephone?
Yes, that's true. What we just
So we
combined
merged
those
everything
two.
together.
So yes, because there was,
Okay.
we had two different divisions before. It was IT and IT telephone.
Okay.
And what I've done is I've just I've added those two together on this line all the way across, so that we're actually comparing like things.
Okay. And then down towards the end where it has wage increases?
Yes. What I've put in here, this 389,000, that is an amount that is our tentative agreements that we have with the unions that have been ratified by those union groups.
And if we were to settle with all those units, then the 650 would be,
The 650 is just kind of a number I put in there as a goal to give all employees some type of an increase.
and Commissioners, I guess I would respectfully ask that we move the 650 over to that other line item, because in my opinion, that's a priority.
I'll second that. All in favor of allocating $650,000 for wage increases, say aye.
I do have, just,
Sure.
I'm gonna go along with this, and I support that, but at the same time, and as we went through this process last year, all of this is an ongoing discussion.
That's right, that's right,
There may be things added to or taken away from.
exactly.
This is not indicative of a final decision.
Right.
My hope would be that we are able to look at a number maybe more than that, if the funds are there and the needs are there. But
a
at this
minimum.
time,
Yeah.
and so I want to stress that, and again, for any cuts or additions to, this is an ongoing discussion and not indicative of a final decision. Thank you.
Good reminder, yes, but at a minimum,
Right.
yes.
Okay. Motion made, I think, by Commissioner Bueller, seconded by Commissioner Archer to plug in 650,000. They're all in favor, say aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries 3-0. Other thoughts?
No, that's all I had. It's work in progress.
It
as we
is,
go
and
forward.
thank you for pointing that out, Commissioner Cook. Numbers will change as we go through this process, and I appreciate the thoughts on the zero mill levy increase, and I think that should be a goal. I was realizing that we've got some unusual circumstances. For example, the 27th
Mhm.
payday is a $2 million drag
Just right there.
on our budget. Our legislature, in their infinite wisdom, is costing us over $300,000 next year in mortgage registration fees. We made a commitment last year to rebuild our reserves, and we need to keep that commitment this year for 2015 budget, because we're not where we need to be on our reserves. So, and nobody at Shawnee County got a pay raise this year, and that needs to be addressed, I agree. And for all those reasons, that's why I said, you know, we're gonna have to work very hard to get a 0 mill levy increase, but I hope that we can do it. So, any other thoughts, Commissioner Cook?
Do you want to take up the 6 identified now, or do you want to wait till the 18th?
Sure, let's,
Then I would make a motion then to adjust the Department of Corrections Health by $352,355, Department of Corrections Food by $23,611, and the Coroner Medical Examiner by $34,561.
and you also want to address the,
Yes.
uh,
And also to adopt then the general expense, all other general expense, COP, and debt service. It would be motion to adopt those 6.
I'll second that motion. Motion made to adopt by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Archer. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Any other discussion before we move on? Okay.
I
Yes,
just might ask
Commissioner.
Betty, as we make these adjustments, then will you be getting those to us, or will those
Yes.
show up in our Dropbox, or how does that work?
I think what I'll probably do is I'll just send you a new spreadsheet of what we've agreed to that day,
Okay,
and then that can go into your Dropbox.
okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I'll continue to put a date up here, and I'll also have a date in the file name, so that way you can tell which one is
Yeah.
the most recent.
But even with all those adjustments, we're still below
Right now,
last year's
you're
expenditures.
just, yes.
Thank you.
Just
But
barely.
it's awful close.
I know.
Yes.
Yeah, and I like putting the date on there so we
Yeah.
know which version that we're
Yes.
dealing with, because
Yeah.
we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna go through several
Multiple.
iterations
Yep.
of this. So, next meeting will be on August the 18th to discuss the budget, and then we will finalize a budget on August 21st. So, okay, thank you, Betty, thank you so much for your help and service. Next item, please.
Item 5, Administrative Communications.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Cole, Department of Corrections. I know over the last few months, there's been a lot of talk about Park and Rec's master plan, and I don't think anybody expected to have a water park outside the jail on July 31st. At least I did not. I wanted to follow up with everybody regarding that event, because that was a true disaster that happened at the Department of Corrections and how it affected our operation, and also it affected the community. Then on July 31st, about 8:48 a.m., we had a large water main break south of the jail right there on 9th Street. And in reviewing the video, I can tell you, I can only equate it to when I saw the water coming out of the ground, I equated it to a bomb going off, because there was a staff member that was probably about 20, 30 yards away that heard the ground and pipes breaking. And then all of a sudden, the ground just erupted. And when I saw the video, I was amazed. And even Jim Green with the city emergency management said that the jail broke a record that broke the Wanamaker water main, because it was only 30 feet high. Ours was about 80 or 90. And it was, I guess, best way to say it was pretty spectacular what was going on. There was some, with the water hitting the lines, that we did suffer some power outages, but that was restored very quickly. When everybody was called, emergency management, both the city and Shawnee County, to get going, and we went into incident command, which is our incident response, where our officers are trained. Initial assessment indicated that we were going to be without water and sewage facilities for staff and inmates for a minimum of 6 hours. When you have 500 inmates and 30 juveniles and the requirements by KDHE, you have to have plans in place. And I was proud to say, on behalf of the Department of Corrections, those plans were in place. We had two tracks of response that day. One of them was to facilitate work with the city public works to get the broken line done, and also was the continuity of services that we had to provide security operation at the jail. I want to first say that with the city public works, when they immediately addressed it, they even drove out of town to go find the parts that we needed because of how big this issue was. And then right down from on 10th Street, another water main broke as well. When we were trying to determine what may have caused it, they said it could be the water drought. One person there, one of their experts said it even could have been caused by even some of the earthquakes that happened in Oklahoma, that maybe some of the tremors came up here. The other thing the City Works was faced with was there was a big gas pipe on top of the water main that broke. And I was amazed, and Tom would know this better than I was amazed that it did not break. Now, they said the gas pipe, because it was so thick and everything like that, that don't worry about it. I went and looked at it, and then I got out of there because I didn't know what was going on. I let the experts do with what they were doing. But I want to say that it was resolved. We got things fixed with minimal monetary damage to our budget, which I believe we'll be able to cover through our budget. We will still get all the bills, and we'll still continue to work with Finance Administrator Betty Greiner, who we had let know immediately what was going on, because we knew there was going to be some bills that were going to have to be paid. But we believe that this will be a minimal cost, is that we can get this fixed. We obviously had some vendors that had to come in and get some things taken care of. But I want to say that with the City Topeka Emergency Management and Shawnee County Emergency Management, their work was unmatched. This meant in a matter of minutes, I saw Dave Sturbins and Jim Green bringing in bottles of water, organizing bottles of water for staff and the inmates, toilet facilities for staff and the inmates, the trailer for staff to use who were going through, because it was hot that day. It wasn't as hot as it has been, but it was very hot. And the bottled water that was brought in by Salvation Army, their teamwork in helping us assess the situation, their involvement, their training, everything was a tremendous value, and I can't thank them enough, David and Jim, for what they've done for the Shawnee County and for the Department of Corrections. Again, this was a true disaster. Our food service contractor was able to make sure that we were able, because of the contract, and they have other facilities in Kansas, in Topeka, we're able to make sure that the inmates were still, and the juveniles were able to receive their nutritional meals, and staff were fed that day because of the emergency, because they were not allowed to leave the facility. The modules we were locked down, and we were worried. And also the use of the county's continuity of operations plan, or COOP plan. We had in place memorandums of understanding with other agencies, because we believed that if this was going to last much longer than 5 o'clock, we were going to have to relocate the juvenile inmates, and we had that in place. In my 25 years, I believe, outside us, when the new jail was built and they moved everybody there, this was the only time that I'd known this has ever happened. And to be honest with you, as easy as it for me to sit here and say that things went very smoothly, I was worried because of the water being gone, the toilet facilities. Inmates get grumpy, staff with already overtime things, and all of a sudden you add on an emergency. We were worried about staff staying on longer, but staff got off on time, and we did that as well. I want to recognize the incident commanders, Lieutenant Katrina Scribner and Stephen Unruh, and for their leadership. They were the incident commanders, and if your incident command system, they run it, not me. And so I was able to sit back and deal with David and everything, and we cooperated and worked together through the incident commander. The incident commander was telling me what needed to be done, and that's what has to be done. But I also want to say to everybody that helped, and also the staff of the Department of Corrections, they did outstanding when it came to this emergency. And that this, it was a disaster. I know there was things in place if we had to declare a disaster, but I had all the confidence in the world in the staff, the people around us in emergency management, and I try to do my best to keep you informed and Betty informed of everything that was going on. I am very proud to be the director. The staff worked their tail off that day. The cooperation, the teamwork with everybody was outstanding, and I think that this was a very true indication of how emergencies get handled in Shawnee County, and it worked very well, and I was very proud to be a part of it. So with that, I'd answer any questions you all have, and that.
Well, the interesting thing is Brian asked me before the meeting if I wanted him to come up and brief us on what had happened. I said, you're darn right, because we need to make sure we tell our success stories, and this was a tremendous success
It was.
story. It was a good partnership. We need to compliment our staff, Mr. Sturbins, emergency management, the people from the city of Topeka who worked, and you and your staff, Brian.
They did very well.
Job well done, and I can't say enough about what you did under very, very difficult circumstances. So,
Thank you.
I would just
Commissioner.
add, this is 2 times that I think we've talked about COOP plans
mhm. Yep.
since you all came
Yep.
on board, one with the election office and now with the corrections. And they are very important, very, very important, because like you said, the business has to go on. We are prepared, and I know that every department in Shawnee County has a COOP plan. We practice it, and this is the reason why.
Yeah.
So,
We do
Appreciate it.
vulnerability checks at the jail. Now, we don't go
Exactly.
blowing up pipes or anything like that.
yeah, yeah.
But we do vulnerability checks all the time at the Department of Corrections to check where, and even from this incident, when Dusty and David even started, okay, let's look at our COOP plan. When we got back and the majors were asking, say, okay, water main break, and the wheels started turning, because there's
Yeah.
tons of scenarios out there. This wasn't one I was concerned about.
Interesting.
But all the pieces were in place, and everything about incident command, our COOP plan had to be tested, like I said, from food service delivery to stuff being fixed on the outside to possible relocation of inmates, staffing, and making sure staff had adequate rest, things like that. So it all worked.
Well, and again, this is continuous. You
Yes.
do the after-action plan, you assess what went
And I'll be
well,
forwarding that as soon as.
and you put in place what will help the next
Yeah,
time, so.
absolutely. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, as Mr. Sturbins would say, be prepared. And in this case, we were.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you again, Brian.
Andrew Howell, Shawnee County Election Commissioner. Good morning, Commissioners. I just wanted to give you a little bit of an update on how Election Day went. First, a reminder, canvass next Monday for the public. Also, for those voters that may have forgot to bring their photo ID to the polls, remember that you can bring that photo ID by our office before canvass, and we will make sure that you get that ballot recommended if it was a provisional ballot. So just a reminder on that. We had a lower provisional number this year. Provisional ballots are down, which is a good thing. We're always happy to see that. 267 is our initial take on provisional ballots that we're going to be bringing up for canvass. Our turnout percentage, as a matter of public record, was 23.22, which was about what we expected. I wanted to also publicly thank the city of Topeka as well as KDOT. Mark Stock spent quite a bit of time trying to keep the ramps open at Gage and 470. We have a couple of large polling places there, and they were scheduled for some road construction. KDOT and the city did agree to leave those open for an extra day, and wanted to publicly thank them for that. I think it made it easier for voters getting to a couple of those locations. I wanted to publicly thank Secretary Kobach for the HAVA funds and the e-poll books. I felt really good. The response that we had from the public and board workers was good. On the electronic poll books, we think that they save people time. We still have some training to do. 400 board workers plus. You're going to have 1 or 2 that still need some training, so we're going to continue working on that. But overall, I think it went very well. Our equipment continues to take us longer and longer to shut down at these polling places. Our board workers are doing the best they can, but sometimes those printers go slow. Sometimes we have an occasional card failure. They'll have to rerun some ballots. So we wish that we could report sooner than we do. We know that it takes candidates a while to get those results. We're doing the best that we can with the equipment that we had. Just wanted to publicly let you know we're taking longer than I want to get those results out, but it's due to equipment, and we know that has to be addressed soon. And I also want to publicly thank Alice. She was one of our newest board workers, did an excellent job, and just thank you to her also for helping out in the polling place. And any questions you might have, I'd be happy to
Questions
try to
for
answer.
Andrew?
Overall, I found it very smooth, and I had no issues with how it worked, and so you had a good operation.
Thanks.
Same here.
Thanks.
Busy couple weeks.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Andrew. Any other administrative communications?
I-
Um,
Go ahead.
Well, before I get upstaged,
No.
I want to talk about the National Night Out on Saturday night and make sure everyone is aware of it. There was an article in CJ. It basically said Saturday marks the nation's 31st annual Night Out Against Crime, and about 50 neighborhoods will participate. And actually, according to the brochure, it's going to be 67. So another instance of correcting the local newspaper. Activities will include block parties, cookouts, ice cream socials, and parades. And the festivities begin at 5 p.m. Members of Topeka Police Department, our Sheriff's Office, District Attorney's Office, and other state and local governments will fan out across the city and county to attend the celebrations and to remind residents that law enforcement can't be the lone provider of safety and security in a community. I've been going to these for several years now, and it's a great opportunity to get to know your neighbors, and there's usually a lot of good food too, so it's win-win-win situation. So I wanted to preempt anyone else mentioning the National
I'll
Night
cross it
Out.
off my list.
Commissioner Bueller, you have thoughts?
Just a couple things. First of all, USD 437 superintendent announced her retirement.
Oh,
Brenda
that's right.
Dietrich, a very professional lady. She's very involved in this community, and she's not retiring until the end of the school year, but we want to wish her the best. And then also had an opportunity to present an award to the Topeka Champion of Character Award to 10-year-old Jonathan Kelly yesterday. He and his grandmother helped his mother, who suffered an injury, and very brave little guy. He didn't talk that much, but very brave person. So we presented that to him. And then most importantly, I know National Night Out is important, but Tall Corn Festival this weekend. Friday night begins tomorrow. Corn spitting, corn on the cob eating contest, tall corn contest. If you're the winner, you get to be the what is it? The
Don't ask me.
Grand Marshal. Yeah, Grand Marshal on the parade. There's all kinds of stuff Saturday morning: pancake breakfast, run, parade, dance, all sorts of stuff going on. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Hopefully it doesn't rain. So, anyway.
Good, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Cook?
I think you guys have covered it all. Nothing more.
All right, next item.
Item 6, executive session.
I don't believe there's a need today, so we are adjourned. I have a conversation.
Okay.
It was like 70 yesterday when we were talking at the